Hello, and welcome to the He Said, She Said podcast. I'm Doug Austin, editor of eDiscovery Today, and I'm the He Said.
And I'm Christy Burke, president of Burke & Company PR, and I'm the She Said.
Welcome to our podcast, where we'll discuss interesting and educational trends within the legal and eDiscovery communities. In today's podcast, we're talking about something everyone's talking about, AI, but we're talking about a specific aspect of AI, optimizing the people side of AI. And we have 4 industry professionals and thought leaders who are at the forefront of addressing various challenges associated with humans and AI. Christy, would you like to introduce our panelists?
I sure would. Thanks, Doug. We have a fantastic panel today. With us, we have Marla Crawford, who's general counsel at Cimplifi, Lisa Erickson, vice president of product AI and cloud transformation at Aderant, Emma Roubtsov, head of solutions consulting at MaxVal, and Joey Seeber, CEO at Level Legal. Welcome to you all, and thanks so much for joining us today. Lend your expertise.
Thank you.
So we're going to start with a question for all 4 of you. And the question is, tell us about your current role and responsibilities and what you think is the most pivotal trend unfolding in 2024 around the people side of AI. And we're going to start with you, Marla.
Hi, I'm Marla Crawford, General Counsel of Cimplifi. I've had this job for 3 years. Before that, I spent 11 years at Goldman Sachs, where I developed the eDiscovery program and ran that and worked on litigation and investigations. And before that, I was 22 years at Jones Day, where I guess one claim to fame is that I actually worked on the Enron case for our client Lehman Brothers, which was the pivotal moment of my personal journey. And that leads me to this pivotal moment where I feel very lucky that I've been around for more than one of these technology innovation experiences in the law. So I think that we're going to discuss today the people aspect of AI. And I, for one, am really excited about it and think it is another really pivotal moment in not only the practice of law, but also the business aspects of the law and technology.
Thanks, Marla. That's great. Lisa, how about you?
Thanks. So I am the VP of Product AI and Cloud Transformation at Aderant, as you said. So what I get up and do on an every single day basis is look at how we are adopting AI within our products across the company. This is not just technology adoption, but it is using AI to deliver value to the law firms that are our clients throughout our different products. So dealing with lots of use cases, how do we implement that, and what do we do? That goes along with our cloud transformation as we're transforming our software from on-prem to cloud and to SaaS. So I also do that as well. So in terms of the bigger challenges or concerns, and this is one I deal with on an everyday basis, looking at how we enable AI for our clients and other use cases, it's really around largely the data and the compliance of that and what AI is serving up, the authenticity of it. Where is that coming from? How was that checked? How is it secured? What is the sovereignty of that? What is the ownership model? Because it puts that information right at the forefront in not just our clients' hands, but the potential for exposure even more broadly. So I think that's a really big concern.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
Emma, how about you?
So I'm Emma Roubtsov, and I'm the head of solutions consulting at MaxVal. So MaxVal is a full-service, full IP lifecycle service and technology company. We provide software for intellectual property asset management, whether it's trademarks, copyrights, and patents, as well as having AI-enhanced search and analytics software and services that we can offer in conjunction with some of the more traditional software management tools. Solutions consulting is a very broad term. So basically what I do is I'm an IP expert and also a product expert and lead a team of people that work alongside the sales team in talking to customers and prospects and understanding where do they want to see efficiencies, changes, what kinds of goals, challenges are they facing, and how do the products and services align to solve their challenges. And I think that's important. The role that I'm in is very user focused. So from a human perspective, I come from the side of the user, and what are those trends on the people side of things when it comes to AI. I think taking away the hype of AI and really digging in, there are some opportunities within the legal tech arena for some efficiencies where a human hopefully can work smarter rather than harder. And that's what I'm excited to see in terms of the human side of it. Working smarter rather than harder, doing more with fewer resources, human resources potentially.
Thank you, Emma. And last but not least, Joey.
Joey, you're muted.
That doesn't work well for a podcast. I was trying to mute out my dog and the storm. So apologies there. Thank you. I'm Joey Seeber, CEO of Level Legal. We're a full service e-discovery managed review provider. We're in our 16th year, and one of the few, maybe only, of the providers who's still independent, no outside funding or other resources, and we kind of enjoy that distinction. Well, when we talk about, I'm tempted, in fact, I will say that a current trend in AI would be real-time AI, because even as we are on this podcast, Lisa, I got an email from Aderant about a new product. And so I thought, okay, they're listening to the podcast. But on a more serious note, look, I'm going to have the bold prediction that the trend for 2024, when it comes to the human side of AI, is curiosity. Not so bold, but when we're in conversation with each other, whether formal or casual, I think there are more questions than there are answers around AI and the human side of AI right now. Everybody's asking a version of the same question, which is, how is it going to impact me, and how? And when? Both on the service side, both as an opportunity and a threat. I think we're all trying to gauge where that is, and so there's a lot of curiosity around that today.
Thank you, Joey. Now going to turn it over to Doug, who's got the next question.
All right, thanks, Christy. So we're seeing a lot of AI solutions hit the legal industry, so let's talk about that for a moment. So what do you all think is the biggest concern for leadership of legal tech product service vendors who are developing AI solutions for legal industry clients? And Marla, we'll start with you again.
Thanks, Doug. So Cimplifi has two sort of sides to our business. We have the e-discovery managed review side, but then we have the contract lifecycle management analytics side. And it's been interesting because we're trying to really integrate our solutions in terms of the implementation of AI. AI is a tremendous opportunity for legal service providers. It is going to, in my view, revolutionize the way we deliver results to our clients with efficiency, cost savings. I think we're at the juncture in our adoption where our clients are finally coming to the realization that the computer can be smarter than the human. And interestingly, I really have seen this evolve since the advent of computers in the practice of law, because I was there in the room when we were building these first review systems. And so I think it's taken since then for clients to come to that realization. This is giving us now, all of us on this call with our companies, a tremendous opportunity to make change. The key for me, I think, is to make change in a thoughtful manner. It's too hard to boil the ocean with AI today. We need to find use cases. We need to find easy use cases that can be adopted, shown to be successful, and then we can move to the next. So at Cimplifi, we try to understand what exactly is the client looking for, and then have a small solution to one problem, prove that out, and then move to the next one. And I think that sort of stepping stone attitude is helping us to drive adoption, making our clients understand the potential, and helping them look smart to their leadership.
Very good. Lisa, same question to you.
Yeah, I actually love what Marla said in terms of the stepping stone. So I think one of the bigger dilemmas is what I already mentioned in terms of the data itself. I mean, I think leaders need to, while not getting down into the super deep technical weeds for those AI use cases, really understand what is the data being used, how is their firm's data being used, what is the potential exposure risk? Because there is an additional exposure risk. You know, in addition to that, it is also just to reinforce what Marla also said. It's like knowing that you're dealing with a use case that is adding value, and does a human asking the questions of your team who are looking to optimize things in the firm, is that something that AI should really do? What is the value of that to the firm? Does it put us at risk? I'll just give you an example, just even in building product, right? As a product leader, we were talking through potentially automating something with our own AI that we're using in product that would automate something for our clients' invoices. And we had to ask the same question. Can we just automate that without a human being involved? Or is it just potentially checking and making a recommendation, but a human has to be at the center? So I think those are the kinds of questions leaders need to ask in firms.
Makes perfect sense. Emma, your thoughts?
Yeah, I can only echo, I think, but maybe in a slightly different way, what Marla and Lisa are saying here. AI, I've mentioned before, there's a lot of hype around it. And it feels as though there are a lot of vendors, especially certainly in the intellectual property space, that are just willy-nilly, it feels like, adding AI into their products. And I think some of these questions that Lisa was mentioning, is this the right thing for AI to do? Is this at the right part of the product? Is this really enabling the user? I think those are all really valuable questions. At the back of all of this is ultimately, what problem, challenge, concern, issue, or goal are we solving with these products? Or what are we trying to address? What problem are we trying to address in the market? And what is the best solution? And it might not be AI, and that's okay. I'm feeling good with that. And on the user perspective, when a user hears, oh, it's AI enabled, there's often, and I think this will continue for a while, a lot of suspicion, confusion, fear. Maybe it is change after all. So I think it's also a responsibility of vendors in the space to provide education, understanding, patience, and be thought leaders with whatever they're developing around the AI and managing those expectations of the user.
All right. Thanks, Emma. Joey, your thoughts on the question?
Yeah. You know, I think if we're thinking about the biggest concern, I think the biggest concern is also the biggest opportunity. And I'll use another not so exciting word, and that is balance. You know, we as humans, we often overestimate in the short term and underestimate in the long term. I think that is true of technology. We can think of a lot of examples from word processing to the iPhone. I mean, the iPhone came out, we wanted it to do everything, and it didn't do much. Okay, but we kind of overestimated or thought, oh my gosh, this is going to change the world. Now, you know, we've gotten to a point 15 or however many years later that we're probably only doing a fraction of what that technology can do. I think the same is probably true of AI, the human side of AI. And that is, we have to take a balanced approach. It's not going to solve everything today, but it's going to have a huge impact someday. And it's finding that balance. I think that is a concern, particularly with internal teams, that we don't expect that it's going to do more that it's going to do in the shorter term, but that we realize what the potential is in the longer term. And it's striking that balance and staying steady as we're looking for those solutions.
Great. All right, Christy, back to you for the next question.
Thank you, Doug. So now's our chance to really drill down on the individual expertise of our great panelists here. Marla, you're going to go first again. Hope you don't mind.
I'm good.
Okay. So the question for you is, many legal professionals are looking at AI as the next big thing, much like they did with e-discovery and legal ops previously in legal technology. But what pivotal factors do you think will impact people's perceptions of AI in the near future? And what recommendations do you have for legal professionals considering the challenges and benefits around AI?
I think this is a tremendous opportunity to level up. I saw this with e-discovery, where people who had jobs, for example, in paralegal jobs, litigation support, that sort of thing, they learned e-discovery. Why did they learn it? They probably learned it because it made their jobs easier to do. All of a sudden, they were magic. The work that they could perform was magical to lawyers and others who didn't really think that this kind of thing could even happen. And so they became so ingrained in the practice of law, so ingrained as valuable players. And I think we're at the same place with AI. It's a tremendous opportunity to level up your career. You don't have to be able to actually, do what some of the other folks on the call can do to make the AI, itself, but to be able to understand how it can help the workflow, to manage it. I think it's a pivotal moment in the law. I really, really do. And I also think if you don't embrace it, you're gonna be left behind. And I think about the time when my son was young and I took him to Colonial Williamsburg, and he asked, well, what happened to all these shops? We don't have them anymore. The blacksmith, the candle maker, right? He was like, where'd they go? And I think we're there. So these old ways are just going to fall by the wayside. And this is just going to be the way it is. So embrace it. And I think it'll lead to personal success and gratification.
Sounds like good advice, Marla. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Doug, who has a question for Lisa.
All right. Thanks, Christy. Let's talk about jobs in AI for a moment. Lisa, many people are afraid that AI will take their jobs away, but you've seen the flip side of that as you joined Aderant in February in a newly created position focused on AI and cloud transformation. So what recommendations do you have for building a team skilled in AI development and application for legal, and how to avoid obstacles during that process?
Yeah, thanks. So because I work in product management, there's some kind of fundamental skills that I look for, that is AI or not. Although I would say with fast-moving technology, fast-moving use cases in AI, these skills are even more critical. So this is like base level of skills of product managers who understand problem first. I think somebody on the panel mentioned that, right? As a product manager, you have to think critically. What is the customer problem I'm solving with AI? Before you get to how you solve it, and is it the right thing to do? Be able to empathize with those customers, understand their workflows, what the firm is actually doing, potentials for different ways of doing it, even if you are not the developer. So then you can write the right requirements, prioritize those. It's basic, kind of fundamental. Also, the critical thinking skills are very important in that, right? Like, you really need to think through where the human is in that process, and it's not just a machine kind of delivery, right? And what is the impact going to be to the firm, pros and cons. So that's really, really critical. I'll also say, even for product management, understanding the technology is key. So it's evolved so fast in the last 18 months with Gen AI but you have to keep up with the technology, because somebody mentioned hype. You need to know what's real and what's not and how it's working, so you don't approach things in the wrong way, whether you're developing or writing requirements. So those are kind of two core things, but I also want to mention another thing. It's not like going out and looking for a brand new set of team members either. There's team members in our organization that have the base fundamental skills, that know our base products. And if you were just to look for a bunch of brand new people who now suddenly know AI and they don't have the basis for our existing products, our existing data, I guarantee you the requirements we would write and what we would deliver would be off. So my other recommendation in learning is to upskill your team members.
Great advice. Back to you, Christy, for a question for Emma.
Thanks, Doug. Emma, a lot of people confuse AI with process automation, and we've spoken about this. How do you find that they differ, and what recommendations do you have for approaching client solutions to AI for use cases like IP, intellectual property lifecycle management, which I know you specialize in, to ensure that they provide useful assistance without making their clients slaves to the AI technology?
Yeah, it's a meaty question. So let's start with the first half, which is sort of automation versus artificial intelligence. And I think many products, especially in my little world of intellectual property, have automation. So automation is really where the technology executes predefined tasks in more of a robotic-like way without manual intervention. So think about reducing clicks, for example. The trouble with that, though, is that there isn't any context behind it. So if A, then B applies, and regardless, there is no nuance, there's no context. So if A happens, then B will happen automatically. When we think about artificial intelligence, or as I like to call it, intelligent automation, you have the ability to add nuance now and to add context. And for as a definition, let's say, of artificial intelligence, it's something that learns, a technology that learns from data and can adapt and can make decisions without necessarily explicitly having to program it, although it's been programmed or trained to be able to execute and do those things. But the beauty of that is that you have the context there, which automation doesn't necessarily always allow you to have to the degree of specificity that you require. So if I apply that into the world that I live in, rather than a human doing multiple searches to try to find out whether they have patentability or why this particular idea is novel, artificial intelligence can do that search much more thoroughly, deeply for them, and provide them not only with an answer, but why their invention disclosure is different from any of the prior art that exists, with a reason and context. And that then puts the hands into people that perhaps are non-IP experts to be able to access this information. So there's that, and there's a big difference between those two things. And with every advancement of technology, I think humans have a challenge here, and the user has a challenge here, that we can become slaves, right? Ever since we started to farm and we were at the mercy of the weather, and now we had to stay in one place because our crops were here and we needed the crops to feed the village. We've seen other technology innovations coming along and we've become slaves to them. Like, for example, email. I wonder how many people on the podcast and listening to this now are checking their email as they're listening in the background. So how do we prevent this from really happening when it comes to AI? And I think it starts with awareness and really understanding what it can do and how it can do it, where it's beneficial, where it's needed. But I think also to a point that Joey mentioned at the beginning, which is to have curiosity. It is here and now, and it is about asking questions and really starting to understand what part of this AI world do you really want to embrace and where do you want to embrace it. the user has that opportunity, vendors have that opportunity to ask those questions, as well as, of course, companies that are buying our technology.
Very insightful. Thank you, Emma. Now I'm going to turn it over to Doug to ask Joey a question.
Thanks, Christy. So let's talk about a topic I've written a lot about, e-discovery review. Joey, generative AI is expected to have a significant impact on e-discovery review workflows, which have been historically highly human-centric, even with technology-assisted review. So where do humans fit in a generative AI influenced review workflow, and what recommendations do you have for leveraging AI technology with human expertise to provide even greater value to clients?
Yeah, great question. To answer it, literally humans fit right in the middle. Where do humans fit? Right in the middle. If we think about the technology, it's still for the foreseeable future. Let's have the most optimistic view of generative AI and its impact and efficiency and cost and all of those things. There is still going to be, for our foreseeable future, probably my lifetime, there was going to be the need for human engineering, for human intelligence, for human curiosity, for prompt engineering. So huge opportunities. I think everyone here has talked about the opportunity, and the opportunity is to be right in the middle. I've used this analogy before as we thought about AI back when I first owned my first business back in the 90s of the last century. I found this new tool called QuickBooks, and QuickBooks was a do-it-yourself accounting. And sure enough, with 5 employees, I could do it myself. I could do payroll and everything else. But the whole idea was, you can do it yourself. You don't have to have a bookkeeper or an accountant. Maybe they'll do your taxes, but you could do your everyday accounting. And sure enough, we could do that. And then it became more and more and more complicated. And now there are huge businesses and industries around helping you with your QuickBooks. The same, I think, is going to be true of any technology. There are going to be humans who are deploying it, who are developing it, who are making it better. And that's where the opportunity is going to be. So humans are going to be right in the middle of that. When we think about leveraging that, how do we do that? I think it involves, again, I mentioned curiosity, but how do we do that? We learn, we practice, we make mistakes, we understand it better. And as there are tools that are good and some bad and some may be ugly, we will learn more about which of those are best for each use case. Whereas the human comes in the exchange with the relationship with those for whom we work, client, customer. And so we're going to be translating the AI and the opportunity for the client, for the customer, to say, this is how we can best meet your needs with this technology. So the human is going to be essential there in translating, if you will, both with the customer or client and also in using the technology itself.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So Christy, I'll turn it back over to you to ask the last question.
Thank you, Doug. Yes, this is the last question for our panel, and this is looking to the future. So looking to the future of AI development in legal tech products and services, how do you predict the human side of AI will unfold? And what will be the major forces shaping it over the next 3 to 5 years? I know it's a big question to answer in a few minutes, but I know you'll do a great job with it. So Marla, over to you.
What we're seeing from our clients is that the people who are the workers are getting pressure from the C-suite, the board, the leadership to show their use of AI. They're really driving the adoption. They're insisting upon it so that they can show that their company is modern, embracing technology, using technology. And I think this is a change, because the other types of technology that I've seen being used in the law really didn't come from upstairs. It was, how do you get the C-suite to champion the adoption that the busy bees wanted to use to do a more efficient job? But now I'm seeing something different. I'm seeing a different perspective, that it's coming from on top. Use it, use it, use it. And our clients are coming to us saying they want to be able to show their adoption. To me, this is a societal change. So yes, we're all seeing a societal change in the adoption of AI every day and all of the things that we're using. But in the law that is so slow to adopt, we're seeing the pressure to use. And this is going to drive tremendous, I think, adoption of the use of technology. And as Emma was saying, it's not always going to be AI. It'll be analytics or some other kind of technology. But I think this is going to change things. And I think that the workers who are able to show the adoption, to show their understanding and use of the products, and to embrace it, are going to have a really valuable future in corporate America. Corporate America, somebody was pointing out to me today, isn't an easy place to exist. There's a lot of pressures, and you need a little bit of self-promotion in order to succeed. And what better way to self-promote than to show the adoption of the technology that the leadership is seeking you to adopt?
Definitely. Great point. Lisa, how about you?
Yeah, so I know we're talking legal here, but we're also talking major forces, right? So the major force, for me is, and it's not the only one, to continue to watch and stay really, really close to, is the underlying technology, the foundational technology. What comes from OpenAI, what comes from Google, what comes from Meta, right? That is the basis of a lot of the Gen AI that is getting adopted everywhere and in law firms, and the basis for the underlying foundation for products. And the reason that I mention that is that continues to move really fast. I think the announcement for GPT-4 Omni, which can process auto-visual text and talk to you more like it is a human, just came out. So we'll continue to see that kind of stuff, and then it'll translate, because over 3 to 5 years, how does that translate? Well, in the firm, if you then have a co-pilot, a chatbot, a virtual associate, whatever you want to call it, we call ours virtual associate, right? It can then become more like conversational AI. How do I do this particular job? It could be front office, it could be back office, and you are just interacting that way as your user interface. So I won't go through all the use cases, but that major force is the underlying tech, and we need to be cognizant of that. And also because of that, I think in legal, and this is not just legal everywhere, but in legal particularly, because that's what we are talking about, I think as a group, and it's not just the people on this call, but it's also the firms, will need to, and I'm hoping and I'm predicting, we are all going to get more serious about the technical, operational, and governance policies that need to actually be in place and operating by humans over the next 3 to 5 years. I'm actually hoping that will start now, and we'll be in a more mature place by then. Okay, that's my soapbox. Thanks.
Thank you. You said it very well. Thank you. Emma, over to you.
So the next 3 to 5 years, I'm hoping that there will be a much calmer, much more realistic approach to AI. I think I keep mentioning hype, but there are probably other words to describe it. But there's also excitement. In some cases, there's curiosity. I agree with Marla that there is this drive from the top. You need to get these products. You need to understand what AI is. You need to embrace them. And I think this is swirling. And I'm hoping in the next 3 to 5 years that will sort of settle down and people will have a calmer approach, because they've done their research. And some of the things that people are getting caught up about, which are really important, like security concerns, ethical concerns, governance concerns, will have ultimately been somewhat figured out. I'm going to be very hopeful that I think we've got a long way to go. I think we are starting to have these conversations. In 3 to 5 years, let's hope that there are more frameworks in place and corporates have made their decisions about what and how they want to engage with AI. So I'm going to say that a lot of those troubles will be in the rearview mirror. And what I'd like to see is more of a sort of a symbiotic relationship with this artificial intelligence and with tools. So much like now we can press a button, which is an app on our phone that enables us to do something else. We are able to make intelligence choices about the AI types of products that we want to bring in and use it in the right place. And I'm coming at this from, the user being still in control rather than at the mercy of or slave to the AI itself or the product itself.
Thank you, Emma. Joey, on to you.
Yes, I think that in the next 3 to 5 years, as AI becomes more sophisticated and replaces more human functions, the human touch, the human element, the human is going to become more important, not less. Because again, as I referenced in my last question, we are still humans serving humans in a human world. So I'm a human working for a company, and you're a human working for a company or a firm, and we're solving a problem with technology in the middle. As that technology in the middle does more that humans have done, we're going to have to be communicating even better about what it's doing, how it's doing it. We're going to have to be engineering it, prompting it. And so I think that the human touch, human intelligence, human sympathy, empathy, all of those things are going to be even heightened and even more important. So I think it's important for us not to think of these as inversely correlated, but positively correlated, that it's going to be even more important that we understand that we're humans helping humans at the beginning and at the end of each day.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joey. And thank you to all of our distinguished panelists today. This has been a fabulous discussion. I'm going to turn it over to Doug to close us out.
All right. Thanks, Christy. Yes, I agree with Christy. A very fun and interesting discussion today on a very timely topic. So I want to thank Marla, Lisa, Emma, and Joey for being our guests on the He Said, She Said podcast, and to Christy for, as always, being an excellent she said to my he said. Look forward to seeing you all next time on the He Said, She Said podcast. Goodbye and have a great day.
Thank you.